Hey everyone, it's me Jenny and welcome to my channel. So in this video I'm going to show you how to knit striped beanie, specifically this one right here. This one is woman size, unstretched. It is 20 inches, but this can stretch to up to 24 inches. Okay, so in the description of this video I will put all the cast on stitch count on how to knit from newborn up to adult, and there's also different type of knitting needle size on some of the size of beanie. Okay, so for this tutorial I'm going to show you how to knit this beanie right here, and I use worsted weight yarn number 4, and the yarn that I use for this tutorial, it is this yarn. I love this yarn, and the white as well. I love this yarn. I got this from Hobby Lobby. So this one right here, it is called, colorway is orange burst. This is 100% acrylic, and for the white yarn it is also 100% acrylic. Okay, so if you do not have this specific yarn, you can use any worsted weight yarn number 4 that you have. Just keep it in mind, not all medium weight yarn number 4 has the same thickness. So for the knitting needle that I use for this beanie right here, this is 4.5 millimeter knitting needle, 16 inches circular needle from tip to tip. Okay, and also going to use 4 pieces of double pointed needle, the same size, 4.5 millimeters. Okay, so this needle is only to do the decrease. You also need needle to weave in your ends and scissor to cut your yarns. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so let's start. First we're going to start by making slip knot, and now we're going to insert the slip knot in the knitting needle, and now we are going to cast on 68 stitches. And this knot on the knitting needle, this knot right here, count as the first stitch count. And now we're going to cast on the rest of the stitches, total 68 stitches. And the cast on method that I'm using right here, it is called the long tail cast on. And if you're not sure how to cast on using long tail cast on, I'm very sure you can find a lot of tutorial on YouTube on how to cast on using this long tail cast on method. Okay, so go ahead and cast on 68 stitches, and I'll see you once you're done. Okay, after you cast on all 68 stitches, if the tail right here is pretty long, you can just cut this off, because you do not want this to distract while you knit this beanie. So just cut it off, just cut enough for you to weave in ends. Okay, so now we are going to place the stitch marker. Place stitch marker at the right side of the needle. And now, before we start round 1, we're just going to make sure all this yarn right here, all these stitches is not twisted. And we're going to pull the yarn from tip to tip of the needle. Okay, so now we're going to start round 1. And for the round 1, we're going to do ribbing, where we're going to knit 2 stitch and we're going to purl 2 stitch. Okay, so first we're going to knit the first 2 stitch, knit the first stitch, and knit the second stitch as well. So now we're going to purl the next 2 stitch, so bring the yarn forward, purl, this stitch and purl the next stitch. Okay, so for the next two stitches you're going to knit, so bring the yarn to the back and knit next two stitch, 1 and 2. Alright, so next is we're going to purl the next two stitch, 1 and 2. Okay, so you're going to repeat knit 2 stitch and purl 2 stitch until you reach the end of the round. Okay, so go ahead and finish up and I'll see you once you're done. Okay, so once you're done round 1, the last 2 stitch right here should end with 2 purl stitch. Okay, so now we're going to do 10 rounds of ribbing. So we did round 1, so from round 2 until round 10 onwards we're going to repeat exactly same as round 1, where every round we're going to knit 2 stitch and we're going to purl 2 stitch. Okay, so just go ahead and finish up until you done with the ribbing until round 10, or if you want to make a longer ribbing you can just add extra round if you want. Okay, go ahead and finish up and I'll see you at the end of round 10. Okay, so once you need total of 10 rounds of ribbing, now we're going to start round 11. So slip the stitch marker to the right side of the needle, and now for round 11 we are going to use color B. So for me, I'm going to use this white yarn, so fold the yarn a little bit, just enough tail for you to weave in ends, and we're going to knit all the stitches. Okay, so we're going to knit the first stitch. Now after you knit the first stitch, you can just drop the tail. We will weave this in once we're done. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 1. Just knit all the stitches and I'll see you at the end of the round. Okay, so once you're done round 1, so every second round of each color change we are going to try to make it as seamless as possible or jogless. So for knitting every new color change, especially when you knit stripe, you will sometimes see the color change where it's very obvious. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make it as jogless or seamless as possible. So to do that, we are going to slip the first stitch of every second round of color change. Okay, so slip the first stitch purlwise. Okay, and if it's loose because it's the first color that we change, so just pull the tail at the back and we're going to knit the rest of the stitches. Okay, just the first stitch of the second round of each color change we're going to slip it purlwise. Okay, so we have a jogless color change. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 12 and I'll see you at the end of the round. Okay, so once you're done round 12, slip the stitch marker to the right needle, and now we're going to knit 2 rounds of color A. So every time when we change color we're going to twist the yarn. Okay, so the reason to twist the yarn is so that our stitches stay together every time when we change color. So for round 13 we are just going to knit all 68 stitches. Okay, just pull the yarn if it's loose and knit every stitches, all 68 stitches. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 13, knit all stitches, and I'll see you at the end of the round. Okay, so once you're done with round 13, now we're going to start round 14. So slip the stitch marker, and as I mentioned, every second round of each color change we're going to slip the first stitch purlwise. Okay, so this is just so that we have a jogless color change. Okay, just the first stitch, slip, and just going to knit all the stitches. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 14, and I'll see you at the end of the round. Okay, so once you're done with round 14, now we're going to knit 2 rounds of color B. So every time when we change color, we're going to twist the yarn at the back, as I mentioned, so that our stitches stay together as we change the color. So now the first round of color B, we're just going to knit all 68 stitches. Okay, so this is how it looks like jogless color change. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 15, and I'll see you at the end of the round. Okay, so once you're done round 15, now we're going to start round 16. Slip the stitch marker to the right needle, and as I mentioned earlier, every second round of each color change, we're going to slip the first stitch. We're going to slip purlwise. The reason is so that we have a jogless color change, and we're going to knit the rest of the stitches. Okay, so this is how it looks like, jogless color change. You won't see the difference right there every time when we change color. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 16, and I'll see you at the end of the round. Okay, so once you're done round 16, next we're going to make 2 rounds of color A. So every time when you change color, make sure to twist the yarn so that our stitches stay together every time when we change colors. And now you're going to repeat 2 rounds of color A and 2 rounds of color B until you reach round 25. And for round 25, it should be color B, first round of color B. Okay, so go ahead and finish up until you reach round 25, and make sure to slip the first stitch of every second round of color change. Okay, so go ahead and finish up, and I'll see you at the end of round 25. Okay, so once you knit up until round 25, the first color of color B, this is how it looks like. So for round 26, we're going to make 2 stitch decrease, random placement. So now we're going to slip the stitch marker to the right needle, and we're going to slip the first stitch purlwise because this is the second round of color change. So now I'm just going to knit few stitches before the first decrease. Okay, so I've knitted few stitches. Now I'm going to knit these 2 stitches together. So this is the first decrease. Okay, so now I'm going to knit several more stitches before my second decrease. Okay, so I've knitted few stitches. Now I'm going to do the second decrease. So I'm going to knit these 2 stitches together. Okay, so far we made 2 stitch decrease, and now I'm just going to knit the rest of the stitches, and by the end of round 26 you should have total of 66 stitches. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 26, and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so once you're done with round 26, you should have total of 66 stitches. So now we're going to start round 27, and we're going to use color A just to make sure to twist the yarn at the back. So for round 27, we're just going to knit all the stitches, all 66 stitches. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 27, and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so once you're done with round 27, so next round 28, we're going to make 6 stitch decrease. Okay, so first we're going to slip the first stitch purlwise. Okay, so now we're going to knit 8. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, now we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. So this is our first decrease. Next we're going to knit 9 and knit 2 stitches together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 28. Repeat knit 9 and knit 2 stitches together until you reach the end of round 28. Okay, so this is the last decrease for round 28. So for round 28 you should have total of 60 stitches. So after you made the 6th decrease. Okay, now we're going to start color B. For color B, round 29, we're going to knit all 60 stitches, 60. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 29 and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so once you're done round 29, the next round, round 30, we're going to make 6 decrease. Okay, so we're going to slip the first stitch purlwise. Okay, slip the first stitch purlwise. Now we're going to knit 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. Now this is the first decrease. Next we're going to knit 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now we're going to knit these 2 stitches together, and this is the second decrease. So now you're going to repeat knit 8 and knit 2 stitches together until you reach the end of the round. For round 30, as I mentioned, you should have total of 6 stitch decrease. Okay, so I'll see you at the end of the round. Okay, so once you're done round 30, you made all 6 decrease. You should have total of 54 stitches. Now we're going to start round 31. We're going to change to color A. Okay, so for round 31 we're going to knit all stitches. We're going to knit all 54 stitches. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 31 and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so once you're done round 31, you knit all 54 stitches. Now for round 32, we are going to make 6 stitch decrease. Okay, so we're going to slip the first stitch purlwise. Okay, so now we are going to knit 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. Now this is the first decrease. Now we're going to knit 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. That's the second decrease. So now we're going to repeat, knit 7 and knit 2 stitches together. You're going to make total 6 decrease. So I'll see you at the end of the round. Okay, so once you're done round 32, you should have total of 48 stitches after you made the 6 decrease. So now we're going to start around 33. We're going to use color B. Okay, so for round 33, we're going to knit all stitches, all 48 stitches. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 33 and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so done with round 33. Now we're going to start round 34. For round 34, we're going to make 6 stitch decrease. Okay, so we're going to slip the first stitch purlwise. Okay, so now we're going to knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're going to knit this 2 stitches together, and this is our first decrease for round 34. Now we're going to knit 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. This is the second decrease. Okay, so now we're going to repeat the same. We are going to knit 6 and we're going to knit 2 stitches together. Okay, go ahead and finish up round 34 and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so once you're done round 34, you made 6 decrease. You should have total of 42 stitches around. Now we're going to start round 35. We're going to use color A. So for round 35, we're just going to knit all the stitches, all 42 stitches. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 35 and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so done with round 35. Now we're going to start round 36. Round 36, we're going to make 6 stitch decrease, and for this round we're going to knit using the double pointed needles. Okay, you need 3 needles on the beanie and 1 to transfer stitches around. Okay, so now we're going to slip the first stitch purlwise. Okay, we use the double pointed needle right here and we're going to knit 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. Okay, that's the first decrease. Now using the same double pointed needle, we're going to knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to knit this next 2 stitches together, and this is our second decrease. Okay, so we have 2 decrease on the first needle. Now we're going to use the second double pointed needle and we're going to knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. So this is the decrease, the third decrease. Now we're going to knit another 5 stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. So this is decrease number 4. So right now we're going to grab the 3rd double pointed needle, and we're going to do the rest of the stitches on the 3rd needle. Okay, so we're going to knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. This is decrease number 5, and we're going to knit in 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to knit this last 2 stitches together, and this is decrease number 6. Okay, so we're not using this circular needle anymore, you can put it aside. So this is how it looks like. For round 36 you should have total of 36 stitches, and you should have 12 stitches on each double pointed needle. Okay, so now we're going to start the next round, round 37. Okay, so now we're going to knit round 37. So for round 37 we're just going to knit all 36 stitches, and we are going to use color B. Okay, so you're going to knit all the stitches. At this first double pointed needle you have 12 stitches. I'm going to knit all the 12 stitches. Okay, so once you're done with the first double pointed needle, now we're going to knit the second double pointed needle. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 37, and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so we're done round 37. Now for round 38 we're going to make 6 stitch decrease, and we're going to make 2 decrease on each needle. Okay, so we're going to start by slipping the first stitch purlwise, because this is the second round of the color change. Slip the first stitch purlwise. Now we're going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. Now we're going to knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and knit these 2 stitches together. Okay, so move on to the second double pointed needle. We're going to do the same repeat, which is knit 4 and knit 2 stitches together. 2, 3, 4, and knit 2 stitches together. Okay, so just go ahead and finish up round 38. Make total of 6 decrease, 2 decrease on each needle. Okay, so I'll see you at the end of the round. Okay, so once you're done round 38, you should have total of 30 stitches around, and you should have 10 stitches on each double pointed needle. Okay, so now we're done with color B. We can just cut this off. Just leave enough tail for you to weave in ends. Okay, so now we're going to start round 39. So for round 39 we're going to make 6 stitch decrease as well, 2 decrease on each needle. Okay, so from now on we're going to knit using color A. So firstly we're going to knit 3 stitch, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to knit this 2 stitch together. So this is the first decrease. Now we're going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and knit these 2 stitch together. Now this is the second decrease. Now we're going to repeat the same, knit 3, knit 2 stitch together until we get total of 6 decrease, we're going to make 2 decrease on each needle. Okay, so go ahead and finish up round 39 and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so this is the last decrease for round 39. For round 39 you should have total of 24 stitches around, and each needle you should have 8 stitches. Okay, so now we're going to start round 40. We're going to make 6 decrease, so we're going to slip the first stitch purlwise. Now we're going to knit 1 and knit 2 stitch together. Okay, so this is the first decrease. Now we're going to knit 2, 1, 2, and now we're going to knit 2 stitch together, and this is the second decrease. Now move on to second needle. We're going to knit 2, 1, 2, and knit 2 stitch together. Now this is the third decrease. Now knit 2, 1, 2, and knit 2 stitch together. This is decrease number 4. Next, move on to the last needle, knit 2, 1, 2, and knit 2 stitch together. And lastly, knit 2, 1, 2, and knit 2 stitch together. Okay, so done with round 40. Round 40 you should have total of 18 stitches, and you should have 6 stitches on each needle. Okay, now we're going to knit the last round, round 41. So we're going to knit 1 and knit 2 stitch together, and this is the first decrease. Knit 1 and knit 2 stitch together. Now this is the second decrease. Now move on to second needle, knit 1, knit 2 stitch together. This is the third decrease. Knit 1, knit 2 stitch together. This is the fourth decrease. Now move on to the last needle, knit 1 and knit 2 stitch together. This is decrease number 5, and knit 1, knit 2 stitch together. This is decrease number 6. So we're done. This is how it looks like. You should have total of 12 stitches around, and you should have 4 stitches on each needle. Okay, so cut the yarn. And now we're going to use needle to pick up all the stitches on this knitting needle. So grab your tapestry needle, and now we're going to slide all the stitches to the tapestry needle. Okay, so now we're just going to tighten the top right here, pull it real strong, and what I normally like to do is I just go around the stitches one more time just to make it really secure. Okay, now bring the needle to the center, and we're going to make a few knots to really secure all the stitches. Okay, so we're done with this beanie. This is how it looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna show you this part right here. This is where we did the slip stitch purlwise every second round of the new color change. Okay, so I do hope you find this tutorial easy to follow. If you have any question, do leave your question at the comment section down below. I will try my very best to reply. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and share this video with your fellow knitting friend or whoever that wants to learn how to knit striped beanie. And also you can follow me on social media, Facebook and Instagram. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, this YouTube channel, do consider to subscribe and click on the bell notification. That way you won't miss any of my future upload. For now, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care everyone. God bless and bye.